Okay, I don't intend to do a provocative presentation at all. If it is provocative, please flag it to me. I also apologize for the French accent. 10 years in the UK, so it won't change. I have a store, I am a volunteer for Cambridge Carbon Footprint. I have a store there. If I go too quickly on some of the points, I'm very happy to discuss them in more detail afterwards. Normally, it's something that people who come to these sorts of events are mostly aware of, so I try to focus on points that maybe are less well known. So our current carbon footprint, each of us, on average, we emit 10 tons of CO2 per year at the moment. We need to be at 2 tons per year in 2050. So we have a lot of work to do. This number is some sort of a magic number, but it comes from very established sources. So you can see here, it comes from a report from the United Nations, and it's indicated here that we need to be at 2.1 tons per year. You can see that the impact of the rich countries is much higher than the impact of the poor countries. One thing that I want to say at the beginning, because Elizabeth told me you have too many slides, is this one. So I want to start with this one. Our choice of bank actually has maybe the most impact on our carbon footprint. We don't know about it. That's one of the things that is less well known in this sort of events. So I thought I would start with that. Banks invest in fossil fuels. So when they invest in fossil fuels, our money is used to create carbon. Our pension plans are one of the most important problems. So this is an article from The Guardian. Of course, this doesn't come from me. This does come from reliable sources. This article from The Guardian is going to explain the problem in a lot more details. You have ways around that, so you can find a pension fund that has fossil fuel-free funds. So that's one way around. Another way around is to use a pension fund which has SBTi objective. If you don't know about SBTi objective, I'm very happy to discuss that with you after this talk. It's the most recognized way to actually count the carbon emitted by companies. Also, in terms of your choice of daily bank, so your current account, when I go to this sort of event, a lot of the people tell me, I have switched bank and I've been to, for example, Triodos Bank or Cooperative Bank. You can find a lot of bank names on this website here. And then I am not a financial expert, so you have to make your own choice on your own with yourself, because it's like it's a complicated choice. Money is important, so I will let you decide. So now let's jump into the carbon footprint. This is the average. So for the average person in the UK, we emit about 10 tons of CO2 per year. This carbon footprint, please come in, is generally divided into 5 sectors: transportation, food, housing, various things, so stuff, and what is incompressible, which means what we emit when we use the infrastructures of a country. So let's look at each of these bars and see how we can impact them to lower them down. In terms of transportation, so you can see from this slide to this slide, the red bar is going down massively. What was done between the two? It's simply replacing the car with biking or walking. So it's not replacing completely the car, it's just going from the average, which is 10,000 miles per person with 1.2 persons in the car, to this amount, which is 13 miles per year with 3 persons in the car. That's my numbers, so that's why I chose them. But we can all do one step in that direction. And you can see the impact. So we went from this to that. So we went minus 2.5 tons just by this simple thing. Now, flying. So the average person doesn't fly too much. So the bar doesn't look like it's going down massively, but it's a false impression. You can see from here to here, the bar goes down a little bit. But if you fly one return to New York, then this is what your bar becomes. So one return to New York, it's 2 tons flat. So we have to be very careful about flying. Most people know that in these events. Then what about food? In order to take our food bar down, to go from this orange bar to this orange bar, we can decrease the amount of meat that we use, that we eat. So one way is to become vegetarian, but simply decreasing your meat consumption and going from chicken or pork to chicken or pork instead of beef, it's already massive. So that's our ways down. Minus 0.7 tons of CO2 per year. One more lever is to eat local, seasonal, not drink bottled water, but tap water, and become zero waste. So becoming zero waste looks more complicated. Maybe it's not that complicated. I thought it would be complicated. And this is minus 0.4 tons of CO2, so a little bit less than the previous ones. It's important to know the relative orders of magnitudes. Then, to heat your home, one very important lever is to actually go to a heat pump. A lot less people know that in these sorts of events. So if you all are familiar about heat pump, then it's perfectly fine. If you don't know about heat pump, it's one thing that can really decrease your carbon footprint. Minus 0.8 tons of CO2 per year. The reason why is because heat pump is electrical, and instead of burning gas in your home, you use electricity, which is already 60% decarbonated in the UK and is more and more decarbonated every year. Going to a smaller home has an impact. If you hit a larger space, of course, you are going to use more energy. It's not that much of an impact. So if you go to a small home of 70 meters square instead of an average home, it's only 0.2 CO2 per year. So it's good news. We can have a space that is decent, which is nice to live. And then the last lever is to actually make your things last at home. So you want to make your furniture last, your electrical devices last, so your dishwasher, your washing machine, your laptops, your desktops. And one way to do that is to go to repair cafe when something is broken. Instead of changing it, you can go to repair cafes, and I'll tell you more about that later, because Cambridge Carbon Footprint organizes a lot of repair cafe. You come with your broken things, we fix it for free, and then you go back home and you have something brand new, almost brand new. So just to come back to that, you can see where we are now. We are at 3.5 tons of CO2 per year. We started with 9.3 tons of CO2 per year. So just with these simple gestures, so it doesn't change our lifestyle, it just changes the way we do things on the daily basis, we can decrease our footprint by a factor of 2, a factor of 3. So it's very important what we can do about global warming on the individual level. I'm finding very hopeful. I started in this space saying, oh, it's horrible, we have so much, we can't do anything, we have to wait for the government to take decisions. Actually, we can each do something about it now, and it's not that difficult, basically. So we can be very close to this objective, 3.5 tons, and we need to be at 2 tons in 2020, but in 2050, but it gives us a lot of time to act on the remaining ton. So a lot better than what as a summary. So as a summary, what are the big wins? Decrease the amount of driving. You could see in this presentation, minus 2.5 tons. Stop flying. A return to New York is 2 tons. Stop flying or decrease the amount of flight that we do. Decrease the meat consumption, so that's minus 1 ton. Going to a heat pump, so that's really just changing the way our home is heated. No change in our lifestyle. And then make our stuff last, minus 1 ton again. So that's the big wins. So we have really a lot of levers, and just one step in the direction of each of these objectives is already a massive saving, and then you can do your own calculation. So then, when I started this journey, I thought it would be super complicated. So I'm going to try to show you here that actually it was not as complicated as I thought. Probably some of you have also tips and tricks to share. So if you want to share it at the end, it would be fantastic for the audience to know. So my difficulty when I started to become vegetarian was like, I thought I would miss meat. Actually, it turns out I don't. And also I thought that it would be super complicated to use a basket of fruit and vegetable, because I wouldn't know what to do with the vegetable. I wouldn't know which vegetables would be delivered to me. So what helped me is to find dishes that can be done using any type of vegetable that you get in your basket. So that's what I put here. So you can put any vegetable in dishes like lentil dans, chili sin carne, risotto, vegetable tagine, curries as well. So you have a lot of dishes which fit with any vegetable. You just replace the meat by vegetables. Then one thing that helped me as well was to know what to do with this cabbage that was coming in my basket every week. So in the winter, you get a cabbage every week. So what do you do with the cabbage? For me, it turns out that cabbage fits nicely in lasagna. Cabbage dominates the taste in a lot of dishes, but in lasagna, it's okay. It really tastes good. Even my girls tell me it tastes good. So if my girls say that... And then I always ended up with leftover fruits, and I didn't know what to do with it. And actually fitting them in cakes or do compotes helped a lot, because then the children are happy to eat them. So that's my tips and trick. It helped me. I don't know if it helps you. If you have your tips, it would be great if you shared them. Then becoming almost zero waste. So I really thought it would be super hard. I started by registering to one of these companies that deliver to your home. So they deliver and then you send back the packaging. So you are almost zero waste. It's fantastic to be able to be delivered. It doesn't create more work. So now I use one of these companies, and after 2 years, I'm comfortable using them, and it really decreases the amount of stuff that I put in my bins. So the fruit and vegetable basket is one thing. Then the milkman is also one thing. It turns out that most milkmen also deliver fruit juice, sparkling water, yogurt, a lot of things. So you can really decrease the amount of packaging for a lot of different goods. And then for the rest, pasta, cereals, dry fruits, you have other companies that deliver to your door, and then you send back the packaging. That's something that I found very powerful. Then the heat pump is something that I discuss a lot in these sort of events with people. People know less about heat pump. They are scared. So the question that comes back is the price. So it turns out that the funding by the government is much higher this year. It's 7.5K. Instead of 5K last year. So now it's almost the same price as a gas boiler. So it's really worth going to a heat pump this year, I would say. The other thing is the noise. So a lot of people tell me a heat pump is very noisy. So I was very surprised when I heard that, and I hear it repeatedly. I don't hear my heat pump from indoors. It's just outside my house, and before I had a gas boiler, and I would hear my gas boiler regularly when the flame would start. I don't hear the heat pump at all. So I find it a lot less noisy than the gas boiler. You can find approved installer on the Energy Saving Trust website. They're all listed. You have the map, then you can contact them, have several quotes. So the heat pump is really a way not to change anything in your life, just the way your home is heated, and poof, -1 ton of CO2 per year. In terms of stuff, we organize repair cafes with Cambridge carbon footprint. We also organize clothes swaps. So you see one example repair cafe, one example clothes swap. So all the events are registered on the carbon footprint on the Cambridge carbon footprint website. If you can check the times and maybe join in one of these events, the thing that you bring will be repaired for free. So really useful events. One more thing that Cambridge Carbon Footprint has put in place is the Cambridge Climate Map. I distribute copies of them in my stall. I have a stall in the main room. So if you want a copy of that and you want to take it back home, please feel free to come and have a chat. This is the map of shops in Cambridge that help you be more sustainable. They are classified by themes. So please feel free to take your copy. As just one point, so I've used one carbon footprint calculator in this presentation. A carbon footprint calculator is a massive approximation. They ask you 30 questions about your life, and then they give you a number. Of course, they have to do approximation. You have many carbon footprint calculators out there. Cambridge Carbon Footprint has their own calculator, which is located here. The first QR code in my stall allows you to reach this one and do your calculation. The one I've used here, because it makes nice bars, is one French one that is from the organism that actually delivers the footprints to the government, so a very official body. And then this footprint calculator comes from a literature review that we did with Cambridge Carbon Footprint, and this was the one that was highlighted as the best one. So 3 of them. The good news is that they all tell you the same story. They won't give you the exact same number, so it gives you an idea of the error bar, but they all tell you the same story. All that was in this talk is actually the same for each calculator. As a conclusion, we can reach sustainability almost today. We can be very close to the 2 tons per year that we need to be at in 2050. So we can do something on our own. We don't have to wait for the governments to act. We don't have to wait for the official bodies to act. I find that very, very hopeful. It's not as hard as I thought. I really started this journey thinking that it would be super hard. It's not that bad. And we need to act now. This is really an emergency. We all know that. That's why we are here today on a Saturday morning. One way to act is to do like me, go in events and talk. So if you want to join Cambridge Carbon Footprint, please, you are very welcome. We are already a team of like 400 volunteers, if my numbers are correct. So if you want to join the team, go to events, talk about carbon footprint. I also go in Grand Arcade. There are a lot of repair cafe, a lot of other things that I can tell you about in the store. Please feel free to check the box and put your email address so as to volunteer.
Thank you very much. That was a lot in 15 minutes. Really interesting.
Did I talk too quickly?
We've got time for maybe 2 questions.
Okay.
And then, as Aline said, she'll be out in the main hall so people can talk to us further then. So, yeah, Dana. Yeah.
So, when you said you have your food delivered, so is that comparable price to shop in a supermarket, or is it much more expensive?
That's a great question. It's more expensive, on average twice. So what I do, I wanted to keep it at the same price because I wanted sustainability to be reachable by everybody. So I eat more pasta in proportion instead of eating, like if I'm hungry, I eat pasta in addition to the dish. And overall, you can keep it at the same price. The girls love pasta, so I mean, it's, the more pasta I cook, the happier they are.
Very nice talk. When I was giving talks about the environment, and I chaired the Royal Commission on Environmental Pollution, I would always have people after my talk, and quite often they were on television or radio, get up and say, well, Blundell, where are you going next week? And that was, of course, because I was involved in international science, and I was traveling almost all the time. And although we can do many things now online, it's very different from the gains you get by interactions, especially if you're going to, say, African countries or South America, which I was.
So the company sorry, I'm not listening to the question.
My question is, what do you think about these challenges? Should we all sit here with some sort of communication, or should we still travel?
So the company I work for has decided to cut because they're very aware about the environment, they decided to cut the amount of travel they do by plane by a factor of 2 in comparison to before COVID. I think it's a great direction. If every company does that, it would make a massive difference. And we could even, I mean, the report that summarizes all the factors together, they say that we need to cut emissions by plane by 16% by 2030. So it's not massive. If all the companies do that, that would cover the problem.